What's going on? So summer is over before it starts. You ever get to that point where you just sit there and you're thinking, wow, you know. Um, if you're in the States and you know like the 4th of July, that's half your summer. And you think about Wimbledon, you think about certain things that remember summer, and it's the halfway point in July. It's almost like, wow. You start seeing back to school ads. Where did the summer go? Where did the summer go? What did you do? You were still just barely thinking about vacations and doing things, and before you know it was already back. Who how do you live like that? How do you compose like that? How does it hit your mindset? It's really one of those things that before you know it, summer is almost over. Before you really had a chance to grasp it, it's almost over. It's really just amazing how we put certain things in perspective and where we think, and then when it happens, it's kind of like, what did we do with our time? Did we waste our time? Did we make what was our thoughts and process? Back in the day, you were getting excited because June was like so much going on in June, but then it was fast. And then you get to July, and now past the 4th or whatnot, it's the halfway point, and it's almost like, oh Lord, back to school starts. You're not trying to get up early, you're trying to enjoy it that few weeks, but they go by so fast. They just run in, hurry by, you know. And it still is the case, if you come across yourself in July or something somewhere and you thinking to yourself, wow, that didn't even last that long. That was just not even fair. Can I get that back? You know. And you have those deja vus of where you wanted to stay up late at night and have a good time and good hang out with friends and do stuff, and then before you know it, it's halfway over. And before you know it, everybody's kind of like in that stretch where it's like, oh wow, this is really like, I gotta really just, how am I going to put this in perspective? It's just one of those things where you just are kind of at a loss for words. Lost for feeling, lost for just putting things in to sentences. It's just, you know, um, where does it all lead to? Where does it all go? It's just, and that has always been like that thing about when you got to July, got to the halfway point of July, it was meaning like, summer is almost over already. Still gonna be warm, but you can feel the difference. Still gonna do things, but you can tell the difference. It's just like, well, can I get some of it back? And then you're just kind of like at a loss for words, but it felt so good. June made you think you had hope, but then you don't get that much of June because before you know it, after summer kicks in the last week or so of June, then you're into July and it's like, I don't want it to end. So it's always like that flashback of what was July like? How did it feel? How did it hit? The circumstances. So, um, just an incredible time putting in perspective though. But, when you think about it, it's just one of those things that you just can't, you can't just erase from your mind. It's just very powerful and very potent. So we're just having a flashback about when we get to the middle part of July, and that's how summer is almost over. But right when it just gets to its peak, that's like the only time in the season of the year that when something gets to its peak, that that it's going back to the way it was. And that's the only time of the year that you feel it noticeably. If you agree, let me know. And if you disagree, let me know. But I'm just saying that part in July is when you know that you're at the peak of summer and it's almost over. Please like, subscribe, work on thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Share it if you like. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time. Peace.